YouTube as a platform has given rise to a lot of talent. People who actively went from being nobodies online to being someone with an actual voice and fan base. Think people like Boogie2988, someone who grew an audience from their videos on this very site we call YouTube. However, if you know anything about Boogie, then you know things didn't end up too well for him, as nowadays he's seen as someone who's easily exploited, a lol cow, and a joke, how the mighty have fallen. But I like to use a different term to describe him and the creators we'll be talking about today: Manchild. Manchildren can be summed up as one word: childish. These people who most would consider adults doing things that only children would be caught doing, things like begging for attention and cursing people to the darkest pits of hell. Well, maybe children aren't doing that last one. Nonetheless, our two subjects of today fit directly into these two themes, one being a terminally online egomaniac, and the other being, well, you just have to watch. So without further ado, this is the depraved world of YouTube Manchildren. Kids content on YouTube has never had a good track record. Back in 2016, you had the rise of Elsagate, and most recently the rise of channels like Cocomelon, which has received a big amount of criticism from its detractors. Content that is often loud equals funny, fast paced, and mind-numbingly simple at times. GaroShadowScale falls directly into this type of content. Loud equals funny, fast paced,
okay, fine, congratulations!
And mind-numbingly simple. But all this pales in comparison to the way he acts off camera, and especially the way he treats his audience and community. Like most YouTubers, Garo has a Discord server that he uses to connect with his audience, something that doesn't seem all that harmful until you dig deeper. Upon joining any Discord server, there are rules and regulations. However, to anyone who has heard of Garo before seeing this video, you know that his server rules are a bit outlandish. Rules that keep his fanbase of Wigglies, that's what he calls them, from interacting with each other, or even mentioning each other in passing. Worst of all, he states that members with a social media presence will be promptly kicked from his server, and all their quote-unquote rewards will be revoked. He also earlier mentions that everything in the server should be kept about him and him alone. Not to mention, Garo has a Patreon, and once again I have to repeat, there's nothing wrong with this until you dig deeper. Bored Oranges, Clapsteel, and others alike have brought up time and time again how overpriced and insane Garo's old Patreon tiers are. I say old because since the making of this video, Garo has removed both the $500 and $250 tier, two tiers that gave you the equivalent of a hug in VR chat and a 20-minute Discord call with Garo himself. It's kinda like you chose dinner with Kanye, except it's Garo. Garo has also been shown many times to lash out at viewers for not watching his Twitch streams long enough and talking too much about themselves, even if it's for a simple happy birthday. Been showing up to most of the Twitch streams, played marbles a bunch of times. Sorry you've been having so much issues with your tech. Garo went on to respond with, you came on 9/4, 9/8, 9/9, 9/10, 9/14 for a total of 2 hours and 10-minute watch time. That's not even the duration of a full stream. Your low watch time suggests you're just coming and going rather than leaving the stream open when you can't be active. Due to all of that, you don't qualify for regular status. You'll have to do better, much better. All this combined together makes Garo look like a self-centered asshole, someone who doesn't care about what anyone else is doing and only wants attention on himself, shown by not only his DMs with fans, but his constant desire to have server members not interact with each other unless it's about him. Many have also related this pattern of behavior to a cult leader directing his loyal followers, and to be honest, I kinda see it. GaroShadowScale nowadays, while pretty toned down, still exhibits these same behaviors, and it's hard to say if he'll ever change, as when he was called out for all this, he made a response video in which he relegated all his critics to simply being quote-unquote haters, showing an attitude of not wanting to change. Of all the creators in the FNAF community, none have been as controversial as TheftKing, a creator who was previously known for his very out there thumbnail styles and videos on controversial topics in the FNAF community, most notable of which being his video on why FNAF's creator Scott Cawthon rejected the game Aftonville as a part of the FNAF Fanverse initiative. It was a pretty well put together video, and the community agreed, as creators like FusionZ Gamers seemed to take a liking to the video and the information in it delivered. Was not expecting to hear myself in this video, but good video and very valid points. This video, combined with the ones before it, boosted Theft's channels to over 100,000 subscribers. Things for the next few months were pretty quiet. Theft continued to upload content semi-frequently, and his channel continued to grow fairly consistently. But you all know this story doesn't have a happy ending. Now, before we get into the wider controversies of TheftKing, I want to mention a smaller yet big detail about his actions. Most often, Theft's content to the FNAF community was seen as cannibalistic, mostly because it was drama-based. This led to many individuals in the community criticizing and publicly bashing him, to which when some of them admitted they were wrong and they would reach out to apologize, Theft would react this way. Apologizing to me is nice, I guess, but you all demonized me in public, and now you come back with your tail between your legs in private to apologize? That. If you're sorry, tweet it. I guess you can say he's the one passing judgment. This, compared to what we're about to get into, can be passed off as him just being kind of a jerk off camera, but it should be some neat foreshadowing for what we're about to get into. Pop Goes Arcade releases on Steam, 98% rating. Funko and YouTube's merch out this year. Nixon is allowed to work on T-Jock again. Fizzing on with plenty of FNAF Plus dev updates. Every FNAF YouTuber in the world. The fanverse is a failure. Scott failed us. The initiative is doomed. This tweet was posted on July 19th, 2022 by the creator of Pop Goes, King Carter. This tweet was somewhat in response to a YouTuber Sheet Rampage's video on the FNAF fanverse initiative, to which he has some very polarizing things to say.
Which after release he described as a not very successful launch.
TheftKing would think this tweet was directed at him in his video on Aftonbuilt, and so on a live stream he held 2 days later, he ended up having what many would call a mental breakdown because of this tweet, expressing his frustrations with King Carter and how he never got back to him in DMs. All this over a tweet that wasn't even directed at him in particular. Soon after all this, many creators like The Baddest, Pastra, Yeah, and many more in the FNAF community started to cut ties with TheftKing behind the scenes. Some, like The Baddest, even coming out on Twitter about it. The irony in this situation is that Theft claimed to be harassed by many of Kane's audience, but refused to show evidence of this so-called harassment. Later, Theft would quote-unquote apologize through a video that was set fully in text that was copy and pasted from his apology on Twitter. This situation in and of itself ruined Theft's credibility in the FNAF community and led to him being ostracized. But this wouldn't be his last big controversy, as months later he would be caught up in once again another controversy, as an official artist from the FNAF community, Lady Fizzy, was exposed for her actions of predatory art and later was kicked out of the community and lost her official status in the franchise. A pretty justified punishment. Well, Theft didn't think so, as he would later voice his opinion on the matter by saying that those who celebrate this are being vindictive to act gleefully about a situation so messed up, comparing the situation to the cancellation of series creator Scott Cawthon. All I have to say is, these situations aren't even near comparable. There have been many other incidents to pop up throughout the controversial timeline of TheftKing on YouTube, however these two situations sum him up perfectly, and you all should be able to piece together why I call him a man-child. The inflammatory responses to criticism, the way he treats those who try to apologize, and the way he has Twitter meltdowns over what most would consider good things. Truly the mark of a child. These two creators, TheftKing and GaroShadowScale, perfectly sum up the term man-child to me, and this video should serve as proof why. But anyways, with all that being said, here's some more videos of mine I think you'll really enjoy. I have been Just Quilted, and until next week,